Then Zeus, who gathers clouds, addressed him angrily. You, Lapetus, son, knowing cunning more than all, with glee you stole the fire and deceived my mind. For you will be great sorrow, and for future men. As fire's price, I'll give an evil thing, which all shall cherish in their hearts, embracing their own scourge. Thus spoke the sire of gods and men, and laughed aloud. He bade Hephaestus, well renowned, to wet the earth with water speedily, to add both human voice and strength, to make a face like deathless goddesses, a maiden's lovely charming shape. Athena was to teach the crafts and weaving on the well-wrought loom, and Aphrodite was to bathe her head with grace and difficult desire and limb-fatiguing care. To add a dog-like, shameless mind and thieving ways, he charged to Hermes Argaphontus. He spoke, and they obeyed Lord Zeus, the son of Kronos. Forthwith from earth the famous doubly lame one formed a modest maiden's shape, as Kronos' son had planned. Bright-eyed, Athene then arrayed and girded her. The goddess's graces and august persuasion put the golden necklaces upon her skin, and then the fair test hours crowned her head with springtime flowers. Athene draped her frame with every ornament. The Argos-slaying guide implanted in her breast deceits and weeding words, the habits of a thief, according to loud thundering Zeus's plans. And speech the herald of the gods put in, and named the maid Pandora, since all those who hold Olympian homes had given her gifts to her, sorrows for hard-working men. But when the sire had made the hopeless, towering trap, he sent the Argus-slaying, famed swift messenger of gods to bring the gift to Epimtheus, who forgot Prometheus told him to accept no gift from Zeus Olympian, but to send it back in case it be, perhaps, some evil thing for mortal men. But when he took and kept the scourge, he understood. At first the tribes of men had lived upon the earth, apart and free of evils and of tiresome toil and hard diseases, which had brought their men to doom, because by hardship mortal men are quickly aged. But with her hands the woman raised the jar's great lid, released all these, devising grievous cares for men. Alone there Elpis, in her indestructible home, remained within, beneath the lip, nor by the door escaped, because the vessel's lid had stopped her first. By will of Aegis bearing, cloud-compelling Zeus among the people wandered countless miseries. The earth is full of evils, and the sea is full. Disease come by day to people and by night, spontaneous, rushing, bringing mortals evil things in silence. Since contriving Zeus removed their voice, and thus from Zeus's mind there can be no escape.
Zeus!
Professor Layton
has returned! I bring the destruction of Olympus!
Pandora's box, a concept that has been passed down through historic tales for thousands of years now. Of course, the most well-known iteration is the Greek poem and myth of Pandora, depicted here in this artistic inscription. Pandora was the first human woman created by Hephaestus acting on Zeus's order, as pretty much what I've just read in case you couldn't understand that. To mark this moment, each Greek god gave her unique gifts. The concept of the box itself is a little more in the air. In the most popular of interpretations, it's said that the box was a physical thing that contained all the world's evils and bad things inside. However, if you were to look back at history on some of the accounts, and from the poet masters and storytellers of their time, it is said that the box is actually nothing more than a pithos, a sort of large Greek storage container jar, sort of like an ancient Greek mason jar, if you will. Expanding on the story of Pandora in Works and Days written by Hesiod in one of his poems, he goes on to tell how each god helped her through her creation. Athena taught her needlework, Aphrodite would grant her beautiful hair, Hermes gave her a shameless mind. Basically an interpretation to how humans have flaws and sort of a pseudo-explanation for that, if you will. It was Hermes who eventually named the woman Pandora, roughly translating Pandora to all gift. In the poem, Pandora's deceitful side, as caused by the so-called gifts from some of the gods, makes her bring with her a jar of countless or just 100 plagues. It depends on what inscription and, what variation you read, but it is generally 100 plagues. And of course, we all know they get out, and the last thing that's left at the bottom of the jar is hope. Of course, in the Greek tale, hope is seen as Zeus, because, it's Zeus. Zeus has got to be on top. If it's not Zeus, it's nobody, He's kind of an egotistical prick, if you ask me. This tale has been thrown to time, basically, and has had many, many difficulties in interpretation and translation. So this could all be wrong, but this is just how we've described it, given the source material we have, which probably would have been in ancient Greek. A good example of this is that the box aspect actually comes from a mistranslation by Erasmus of Rotterdam, who incorrectly translated it to Latin, where it came out of Pixis, meaning box. Therefore, Pandora's box was born from this misinterpretation. The concept of Pandora's box has evolved throughout time, that's for sure, and has also rooted itself in today's speech as well. Have you ever heard of the saying, opening a can of worms? Well, that's actually an idiom that, along the line, derives its origin from that of the Pandoran tale. The Curious Village left its title somewhat ambiguous as to what made the village curious, so to speak. But Professor Layton and the Pandora's box tells you from the get-go exactly what the treasure is, and for the first time, it's really not something to be messed with. The Pandora's box, as we have established, is a mythological box full of the world's greatest evils. To say the least, that's a pretty damn daunting undertaking. Weirdly enough, in some versions of the game, the Pandora's box title is either changed to the Diabolical box or the Elysian box, both of which are in-game interpretations and name for the box, much like how we in real life have misinterpreted its name. The game I'm going to be playing is the Elysian box version, and they do refer to it as the Elysian box. I don't think they've ever once mentioned it as Pandora's box in this game. Maybe they have, I can't remember, it's been about a week since I've played it, but just know that they will be calling it the Elysian box in this game. For the sake of ease of understanding, I will be referring to it as Pandora's box. Pandora's box was greenlit pretty much straight after Curious Village left store shelves. In fact, Level 5 have already come up with the concepts and names for the first and third game, but needed a middle one. So, the team settled on Professor Layton and the Secret of Ghost Island. Of course, the team eventually ended up scrapping this concept, as they didn't think it was proper for an Englishman to be fighting for his life on a deserted island, and so Pandora's box was chosen in its place. A lot of the gameplay from Curious Village has carried over, and was basically just improved. I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Perhaps one of the main criticisms in the puzzle market was the lack of relevance some of the puzzles had in Curious Village to its story. So the team set out to make these puzzles from Pandora's box more relevant to the setting and story, which ultimately made the game hold twice as much data as its previous. Unfortunately for the soundtrack, the criticisms that Curious Village received haven't really been beaten by much. Instead of a 6, it's now a 7. I'm not feeding into the fucking joke, okay? You heard me say the numbers, you work out the rest. The soundtrack was said to have had no masterpieces on the score, and this is according to Square Enix Music Online, and as we know, they ripped the shit into Curious Village's soundtrack. The general consensus with Pandora's box soundtrack is that there are some of the old latent charm, but also a lot of filler and repetitiveness, a similar criticism that we covered in Curious Village. Don't worry, Tomohito goes on his redemption arc in the next game, believe me. What's really interesting though, is how well this game ended up scoring. It came out as on par, if not slightly above Curious Village, and to a lot of fans, this is their later magnum opus, so it's clear that there's a lot of love put into this game. But there is ultimately no better way to see that than to play it for ourselves. So, without further delay, let's jump back into the escapades of Layton and Luke in Professor Layton and Pandora's box.
Zeus!
There are tales of a box that brings death upon any who dare open it. Tell me, do you think those rumors could be true?
Aside from the unwound future, Pandora's box has perhaps one of the best openings in the whole series. We're first greeted to this big spectacle of Layton and Luke catching the steam train with crowds of characters, some familiar, some not, in the background swarming. The camera also pans to show us a character who is clearly Flora. It's meant to be ambiguous as to who it is, but we all know it's fucking Flora. This train is called the Voluntary Express, and is where the first half of the game will take place. Another cutscene precedes the first, where Luke asks Layton whether he believes in a Pandora's box, and right after, the game is thrown into a flashback.
My dear Herschel, as an archaeologist, you're sure to have heard of the item known as the Elysian box. Of course, it is more commonly known as Pandora's box, in reference to the famous myth. This nickname would appear to be well-deserved, since it is rumored to kill whoever opens it. I'm dubious of this reputation, of course, but when my interest is piqued, I simply must investigate. That's why I'm pleased as punch to tell you that the elusive item is finally in my possession. What's more, I believe I'm on the cusp of unraveling a great mystery tied to this box. For the moment, let's just say I have a theory, though I haven't been able to prove it yet. Initially, it was my intention to finish my research before daring to open its lid. But I must confess that my curiosity is simply overpowering. In the unlikely event that anything should happen to me, please finish the work I've started here. Your friend, Andrew Schrader.
We get to see for the first time not only Layton's office, but also our first look at this game's interpretation of London. Firstly, I think this game does a much better job at showing off its tutorials. It's not so much a dragged out conversation like it was in Curious Village. Instead, it's just a quick couple more comprehensive slides. Also, something that's appreciated is that a lot of the back and forth conversations in certain parts are actually voiced this time, which is a far cry from Curious Village, who basically had no in-game voice acting aside from the cutscenes, but this time you actually do get it in-game as well. Layton goes on to tell Luke how he's received a letter from his mentor and longtime friend, Andrew Schrader. With this information, Luke and Layton set off to go see the doctor. However, it wouldn't be a Professor Layton tutorial section without a quick map puzzle. It's another relatively easy one, and one that mimics that of the village one. It's a nice callback if nothing else. Thankfully, the doctor lives not too far from the office, and once there's a couple more puzzles. Honestly, I don't know why, but these puzzles really do feel so much better than the village ones, and it's kind of jarring playing them back to back. I mean, that is pretty much what I've done. I'm playing all the Professor Laytons back to back, and it's very jarring seeing the upgrade that they've done from Curious Village into Pandora's box. Inside the office, when we eventually get in after solving the puzzles, Dr. Schrader is laying unconscious on the floor. Layton tells Luke to call the police, and moments later, the absolute goat himself walks in. And Luke just fucking goes for him, nearly ripping off his face.
Excuse me.
What? Huh? Hey, it's you!
Well, Inspector Chelmey's the name. You two found the body, did you?
Oh,
Well, what in the blanket?
No, Luke, let him go.
Get off me!
Luke, stop that. That's his face. Listen here, Luke.
Show yourself, imposter!
Obviously, Luke is somewhat untrusting of Chelmey after the events of Village and Don Paolo's evil scheme. Layton and Chelmey back and forth here and there about what has happened to Schrader. Eventually, Luke puts forth the idea that there may have been another way inside the apartment, as the doctor's office is on the 8th floor and was also locked when they came in. It would be pretty hard for there to be a murderer, considering it was the 8th floor and the door was locked. However, Luke opens a window with a missing curtain and finds a makeshift rope over to a different rooftop, which stumps Chelmey. Layton and Luke also here find two things: a train ticket with no destination, and a heap of parts of a picture, too ripped to put together. After Luke points out the window, Chelmey gets pretty pissed off and takes the picture scraps from them and pushes them out the room. With that, the flashback ends and we're brought back to the train. The two sit and theorize that whatever caused Schrader into a coma must have something to do with the train and the ticket. Oh yeah, I should have clarified this, by the way. He wasn't actually murdered. He's just in a really heavy coma, so Schrader's not dead. I cannot praise this opening enough. It doesn't seem like anything spectacular when you watch it on video like this, but I promise you, if you go and play it back to back with Village, it is a huge, massive step up. Not only are the puzzles excellent, but the new addition of the voice acting and the much more intriguing story, if you ask me, it keeps you entertained and interested. I cannot comment on the soundtrack much more because, like I mentioned earlier, it is largely the same as Village's, just with a couple of tweaks here and there. If something really important comes up, I will mention it, but that's very doubtful. The only thing left to do now is to properly start the investigation on the train. Layton walks around and gets acquainted with everyone till we get to the kitchen. You remember the mini-games that the mini-games that I briefly covered in Village, right? I skimmed over them because they're not that important. Well, they come roaring back here too. The first of the three is that Luke adopts an obese hamster, who I named after myself, Le Smallfit. Yep, an obese hamster. I'll showcase it off a little more later, but just know this is where we pick it up. After more running around, this behemoth of a woman will start crying about her quote-unquote child is missing. After some conversation with Chelmy, who is surprise, pretty useless once again, we go parading up and down the halls of the train. Luke can actually pick up the second minigame here by talking to the conductor guy Sammy, who will give Luke a broken camera, acting much like the Gizmo from Village. Some more backtracking, and the pair accidentally walk into Flora, who happens to be holding a dog. Yeah, the missing baby, whose name is Tom, is actually a dog. It's kind of a repeat from the first game with the cat, but you know, I mean, it's fine. It's okay. This isn't gonna impact the fucking lore or anything. Eventually, we do catch up to Flora on the observation deck of the final car of the train, and that her identity is pretty much revealed instantly. Flora is now part of the main cast, by the way. If you look at the top screen and the bottom left, you can see everyone in our party visible by these pretty cute bouncing chibi sprites. Our trio goes and returns Tom, and then the train breaks suddenly. After another puzzle, the train gets moving again. So let's talk about the problems. I know it seems like I've glanced over it, but it really is just a lot of walking back and forth. Firstly, I will compliment two things. The puzzles are consistent in that they fit well with each section and are mostly quite fun to do actually. I don't think there was an entire puzzle in the game where I was really stumped or, you know, couldn't come back to it after a couple of days and managed to figure it out. Most of these puzzles are relatively easy and they do fit with the environment pretty damn well. I mean, in comparison to Curious Village, that is. I will also praise the interactions with the random civilians, especially since now they're mostly voiced, which makes conversation really easier. I'm not one for reading. I don't like graphic novels, which is weird that I'm technically doing a series on what is a glorified graphic novel. But I don't like reading in my games, so it's nice to see that they're voiced. Now let's cover the bad. The biggest problem as of right now on this train section is how much each section is paused by this. I get it, I get having it, okay? I get it. But look at this, for example. This is a purely uncut section from the start of one of these objective pauses to the next one. Yeah, I'm technically skipping through the dialogue since this is recording, it is my second playthrough, but even with the reading at normal pace, it's still astronomical how little time there is before the objective pauses, and they are riddled throughout the whole game, more so the first chapter, but they are throughout the whole game. That's another thing, actually. Each chapter in Curious Village would run me about 37 to 45 minutes of footage, give or take. Chapter 1 of Pandora's Box has a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. The game is significantly more spaced out and improved upon in the pacing aspects, and that's without talking to everyone, by the way. I did just Google it, and apparently Pandora's Box has only 7 chapters, as opposed to Village's 10, which in my opinion feels a little better. Less chapters, but longer in length, makes it seem like the game is longer, and offers a more fuller experience. Overall, the start so far hasn't been anything insane or groundbreaking. It's a lot more enjoyable than most parts of Village, that's for sure, but it is still a sort of a pseudo-tutorial section. Also, just one final nitpick. In Village, the mystery section, you know, the part where the main mystery subjects are written down, Well, in Village, those wouldn't really fill out until right near the end of the game, where a lot would be introduced and cleared off very quickly between. With the new changing to spacing and length in Pandora's box, the mysteries have also had a sort of rework. We get pretty much a full line of mysteries and a couple even crossed off before Chapter 1 even ends, showing that this time we are actually making some steady progress. But I digress. Our focus now switches back to looking for any clues about this diabolical box, now with Flora at our side of course. The Voluntary Express pulls into a station at Dropstone, a local village town. Sammy the conductor lets us know that we're only here because the train needs repairs and will take about 3 hours, so he suggests we look into town a bit. The train's owner, Beluga, is a bit sketchy upon talking to him. The town Dropstone is currently celebrating its 50-year anniversary. Layton explains how it's a bit convenient that both this town and the Express both turn 50 at the same time, to which Beluga agrees and leaves with an ominous message, lamenting to himself about someone who passed away a year ago. Luke and Flora run off excitedly and, oh fuck, that's Don Paolo again, isn't it? Fantastic. These villagers are very suspicious to say the least. They all talk quite cryptically about somewhere we could be heading next, saying things like there's only one place you could be going, then very weird. I guess you could say that this village is a little curious. A curious village, if you will. Thank you. I'll be here all week. After talking and running around, the tea set minigame unlocks after talking to this old woman. The tea set is probably my favourite of any minigame in any Professor Layton game. Essentially, this whole minigame is about making tea, go figure, combining different ingredients to produce different brews. Right now we only have 3 ingredients, so my first cuppa will be a combination of briskberry, citronia seeds and oasis leaf. Once all are put into a brew, Layton will make the tea and Luke will taste test it, and in this case, they managed to love its flavour. More ingredients will be found eventually, and be sure I'm putting time into making tea. After more walking and waiting, a postman appropriately named Parcel points us in the direction of a Mr. Anderson, a man with wealth and money living in a large house further up the village. Of course, he tells us that Chelmy and his assistant have already made their way there, so now it's a case of playing catch up. After talking to a servant of Anderson's, she tells us that his daughter is planning to leave home alone and that the other servants are pretty much cheering her on to do so. Of course, Layton doesn't want to go up to the mansion yet while Chelmy and co are there, just not to interfere with their investigation. Speaking of, after a puzzle, Chelmy does come back down quite quickly. To cut it short, because there's a lot of explanation here, Anderson isn't home and is apparently at the cow competition which will be starting momentarily. Back over there in the fields, our trio find 2 men fighting over whose cow is who. Normally I'd gloss this over, but Luke steps up to solve it by talking to them and understanding them in plain English. And this is pretty much never brought up again. It is just implied here that Luke can fucking talk to animals, specifically cows, and this is never brought up again. I mean, we know he likes animals, but to the point he can, fucking wild Thornberry a bunch of cows seems a little bit outlandish. Still, I suppose that just adds to the story's charm. Once the festivities have ended, we find Anderson, who happily tells us what we want to know about the box. Mr. Anderson, or more so his family, are a major part of the story going forwards. So, pay attention, I'm only going to say this once. First, there was Anthony and Sophia Harrison, 2 people who married and gave birth to Mr. Anderson's wife, who I believe is unnamed throughout this game. Mr. Anderson marries into the Herzen family and becomes close with Sophia, his now mother-in-law, who he says treated him like her own son. Anderson and his wife had a child, Katia Anderson, who still lives with him now. Anderson's wife unfortunately passed not long after Katia's birth, and now he's left alone to look after Katia himself. He tells Layton that he doesn't actually know much about it, but that Sophia spent a lot of her life trying to find the box, and eventually she spent the rest of her days in her room with nothing but writing to keep her company. After being unable to offer more insight than that, he bids us farewell. When we make our way back to the train, Flora just straight up gets fucking kidnapped by Don Paolo, like it's no secret, it's clearly him. And then the next scene she shows up perfectly normal looking, so we all agree this is just Don Paolo in disguise or some shit, right? Regardless, someone named Romy is looking at us regarding the box. On finding him, he doesn't offer much either, except the fact that there's a tower on the way to where the Voluntary Express is going that is no doubt connected to the box and its mystery. Now, with nothing left to do in the village, I mean, you can go talk to the residents if you really want, but there's nothing really much else to do in this village. They jump back on the train, but not before one more cutscene plays of Katia boarding the train, being sent off by all the butlers and servants. With that, the train gets going and the chapter ends. Chapter 3 is quite short. Off camera, I grinded through a few of Granny's puzzles as to not eat up tons of recording space, a mistake I stupidly made many times unintentionally throughout Curious Village. The actual objective is to talk to the train staff, or rather run around and eventually talk to the mechanic so a little boy will spawn. Talk to him, and after, Layton will decide it's time to go to the deluxe car. Inside one of the deluxe rooms, Flora and Luke mess about with the sofa and Layton scolds them. An announcement tells them that the next stop is a town called Folsense, and after some looking at the ticket, Layton gets that the missing destination on the ticket was indeed Folsense. The gang agreed to head back to their room, but are unexpectedly sent to sleep. When they awake, the sky outside is black and the train pulls into a gloomy station. After pushing through the station doors, it opens to reveal a large, vibrant city akin to something out of Soul Eater. This, of course, perplexes Layton as to how a whole city can change from dark and gloomy to lively and bright with the push of a door. And so, Chapter 4 begins officially, making it around halfway through the game, give or take. In my opinion, Folsense is probably the nicest atmosphere we've seen in a Professor Layton game so far. I mean, especially when you compare it to the village, Curious Village, and the train. It is honestly a breath of fresh air. Hell, even the minimap is gorgeous to look at. We don't get far into the town before Flora complains about being sick, so we find her a hotel and just leave her to be sick. The now twosome travel further into town to find the owner of the train, Beluga, and conductor dude arguing about the box and how he wants to find it. Once he runs off, we can pick up a book labelled Old Diary, which has a goat emblem on the front. Layton reasons that it may have something to do with the box, and so goes to a local pawn shop to see if the owner can give us anything to go off of. He doesn't, unfortunately, but directs us to the Herzen Museum. Chelmy can also be seen a couple of times berating Layton, as well as Katia, who I still don't know why they haven't spoke to her yet. I mean, shouldn't that be priority number 1? Oh hey look, there's Stachin from the Curious Village. Eventually, after finding out that the museum is locked, we run into Jeff in his tower, who rambles on about vampires. And of course, he wants us to prove we're not the children of Nosferatu by solving a puzzle, as if vampires can't solve fucking puzzles. Once Jeff has been made certain that we're not vampires, it's time to run around the town for a good 30 minutes or so talking to everybody to try and advance the game. Some things do happen here. For example, the tea minigame is expanded on, and we can now find people who make specific tea combinations for. You don't really get anything out of it besides other ingredients, but hey, it's there and it's kind of fun. I also got really bored at one point and fixed the camera, which unlocks another picture-taking minigame. Again, this is nothing phenomenal. The exploration takes us to a burlesque house, where all we learn is that Mr. Beluga, the train owner, is a regular. I mean, he likes his women, what can I say? A man of my own heart. Eventually, inside the camera shop, the objective finally changes to going to look again at the museum, as we've essentially reached a dead end in this town. The museum gate is open, and Beluga and Sammy the conductor are once again fighting about not being able to find the box. More interestingly is the large mural on the floor behind them that depicts a goat's head, similar to the one on the book we found dropped by Mr. Beluga earlier. Layton discusses with Luke that he needs to see Chelmy in order to get that picture from earlier that he took from the crime scene, as Layton believes he's seen a design somewhere else but aside from the book and the museum. Back at the hotel, Chelmy soft locks a player out of further progressing unless they have 50 puzzles done. As you can see, me and my massive huge brain have solved 66. Well actually, technically after solving another puzzle for Chelmy that makes it 60... what an unfortunate number. Chelmy tells us that he apparently had a mysterious hole in his coat pocket, and as such the picture has been lost. Some fucking excuse like that, and it's up to us to reattach the pieces, which leads nicely into chapter 5. I think that my point earlier is still holding up heavily, about how every few seconds the game is paused for that little fucking text box that comes up. It does get annoying once you play it. Honestly, you're watching this review, right? But I would say, don't watch this review, go play it first. Even if you have to emulate it. If you don't have an original copy for DS, go emulate it and play it. Once you've played it, you will see what my point is about how it stops every fucking 5 minutes. Just for that little information objective. It is really, really annoying. Aside from that, I'm halfway through the game and have zero complaints other than that. So, I've got to say something about the quality of the game. Chapter 5 is, again, relatively quick and not a lot happens. The whole of this section is dedicated to finding and piecing the scraps together. This can either take 10 minutes or many hours, depending on if you've explored around a bit. Honestly, the only noteworthy thing to come out of this chapter is the two meeting Katia, who almost immediately runs off anyway, so she doesn't really add much. After finding the last piece on top of a broken gate, we can piece it together to reveal the box, that has the same goat head on top. This ticks off a major game mystery, but also reveals our final mystery being the goat's crest. After this, we walk back onto the street where Chelmey's henchman tells us that he's allegedly found the murderer of Dr. Schrader, and has orders us back to him. This closes off chapter 5. Again, not much really happens at all. That only leaves 2 more chapters of the game remaining. Much like how before we could progress to the tower in Curious Village we needed to sit through Don Paolo's unmasking revelations, it's here too that we get a similar scene. Chelmey initially accuses Sammy the train conductor of killing Dr. Schrader, but after Flora comments on the picture of the box, Layton figures it out. Layton stands and reasons that no one has actually seen the box bar from Layton and Luke, and as such, no one should be able to identify when the image is missing a piece, as it is when the wind blew it away earlier. Even Chelmey himself declares the face on the box to be a frog. It's only Flora who correctly says it's a goat, but how could she know what the face is if she's never seen the box? Layton stands up and basically just declares Flora the killer instead, who starts laughing. Of course, my theory was correct, and Don Paolo takes off his iconic Flora mask and reveals himself before running away. I don't know how or why, but the image of Don Paolo LARPing as a little girl for what must have been countless hours now is hilarious and quite commendable. I mean, his knees must be fucking shattered after that. More importantly, Layton finds that Don Paolo actually dropped the box. Beluga of course tries to steal it, claiming himself to be a part of the Herzen family, the family of which the box belongs to by right, but everybody pretty much just shuts him down immediately. Katia pleads for the box from Layton, but he's also skeptical about her. Eventually, someone barges in and screams that this so-called vampire has taken someone else away. We run to our room quickly, and it's finally time, after the whole game, to open Pandora's box.
Finally, the Elysian box.
Indeed, Luke.
I can't look! No! No! No!
Yep, so there's nothing in the box at all. We are now at a complete dead end. Layton and Luke go around asking for info in the village once more. Sammy is the only person we need to talk to here, as he will guide us to the Herzen Museum finally. The museum is a fantastic display of Folsen's history in the Herzen family as a whole. Perhaps most importantly is the picture of Beluga, whose real name is Frederick, and 2 other men who are revealed by the curator to be Duke Herzen and Anton, his eldest son. After some more talking to the curator, he leads us in the direction of the local mine for a miner's diary. Some travelling and a couple of simple puzzles later and we reach the diary. According to said diary, they were digging and found a new mineral that brought death to people and supposedly cursed Folsen, killing countless of its civilians. The 2 skim through the rest before deciding it's time to meet Anton at his creepy castle. Chapter 7, the final chapter of the game, opens with this guy Nigel meeting the 2. And fuck me, if there was ever any doubt about vampires being real in this town. Nigel leads us into an audience chamber where we meet Anton.
Wow, this place is really something else.
Indeed, Luke. This castle is extremely impressive.
Right this way, please.
Good evening. Welcome to my house. So, if I understand correctly, you're saying people fear the box because they believe it kills anyone who opens it. That's quite a story, isn't it?
It seems that the design on this box is connected to your family in some way. Can you tell me anything about this?
It's true that it was a Herzen family heirloom. Although I parted with it a number of years ago, the garish emblem you mentioned wasn't exactly, suited to my taste.
Personally, I think it's quite spectacular.
Oh, is that so? Well, chalk it up to my bad taste then.
You know, I don't think he's telling us the whole story.
Perhaps not. It's hard to say just yet.
I'm sorry I'm not much help, though I confess, visitors are always delightful. I'm sure you've had a long journey, so please do stay the night. Prepare the quarters for our guests, Nigel.
Yes, right away, Master.
Huh?
Of course, Layton and Luke make the stupid decision of sleeping in a fucking vampire castle, and so the result is this.
What? Professor, is that Katya?
The resemblance is striking.
What are they doing together?
Fear not, my dear. They're just the main course for this evening. And my, don't they look fresh.
What?
Yeah, I don't know why you'd fall asleep knowing a fucking vampire, or maybe even more at this point, is in the same building as you. The two of them, of course, end up escaping, and eventually we meet up with Katya, of all people.
This won't do. People are trying to sleep, you know. Is it you? It can't be. Oh, how I've waited. It's been so unbearably long.
Professor, do you know what he's talking about?
Not in the slightest.
Come closer, my dear sweet Sophia. I've missed you so. What's this? Very well, then. Is this how it is? I didn't see this coming, Layton. Not at all.
I'm not sure I understand.
This is your fault, but you can't have my Sophia. You're going to be very sorry you crossed me. There's no lack of swords here. Take whichever one you like. Know this, though. Only one of them is real. A true warrior always keeps his blade in hand.
Then, after this puzzle, Herschel Zorro Layton stands on fucking business.
I didn't think you had it in you, Mr. Layton.
Layton! Sophia belongs to me. You can't have her. Ah!
Look out!
Something strange is happening. I just need to catch my breath.
No more! Please, just stop!
What's happened to me?
Are you all right?
Please just stop, Grandfather. Your body can't take it.
What did you say? I don't understand. Sophia, dear.
You haven't figured it out, have you? You really don't know. Then I guess it's up to me to tell you the truth.
Sophia is dead? No, it can't be.
I've had enough of your lies!
Oh!
Grandfather, no! Please stop!
Oh! We must leave now.
The whole place is starting to crumble!
Come with me.
What's this? What's happening?
Come on, Grandfather, we have to get out of here!
Be careful.
Seems I've found the answers I was searching for. Here, allow me to return this to you.
Thank you.
So, the box wasn't cursed after all.
No, Luke, there's no curse to be found here. But if I were to guess, I suspect you'd find traces of that gas in the ore used to make this box. The same fumes that drove the town to ruin were released upon each person who opened the box. Those who opened the box expected death, and in doing so, fulfilled their own grim predictions.
I suppose it was just an ordinary box then.
Oh, I assure you, it's far from ordinary. This box was crafted to hold the words of my heart.
What do you mean?
The box contains a hidden message, one meant only for Sophia. Many years ago, I asked a traveler passing through town to deliver it to her. Unfortunately, the box's value made it a target for those hungry for wealth. And so it was stolen again and again, thus perpetuating the whole chain of sad events.
But we checked the box. It was as empty as could be.
Ah, well that's because there's actually a second way to open it. The sun rises when you and I meet, and when the wind blows, you will know my heart. These old words are the key to understanding this box and what it means. Do you follow, boy?
I think so. Let me give it a shot. The sun rises when you and I meet, and when the wind blows...
Oh.
What's the matter?
This isn't the letter I wrote. This is Sophia's handwriting. The box must have made it to her after all.
My dear Anton, are you well? I received your letter. Though I'd like nothing more than to see you again, I'm afraid I no longer have the strength to do so. You don't know how many times I've thought about you over the years. I often wonder if you hate me for what I did. Do you? When I decided to leave, I was carrying our child. I couldn't bear exposing that tiny life to such danger. I knew your father's position and understood you didn't have the option to leave with me. Even though I did the only thing I could, I'll always regret leaving you that way. But there's one bright spot in this sad story, and that is our lovely granddaughter, Katya. My departure all those years ago has given you the chance to meet. Katya's mother died shortly after she was born. But Katya grew up strong and sweet just the same. She reminds me of you every time she smiles. With her around, I could never forget about you, even if you've been in my thoughts since the day we parted. And now, though my time here is drawing to a close, I like to think we'll meet again on the other side. The thought of seeing your face warms my heart. Be well and be happy, my dear Anton. Goodbye. But just for now, your Sophia.
Oh, Sophia. I finally understand now.
Grandfather.
Grandfather? Yes, that's right. It has a nice ring to it. I am so happy we met, my dear granddaughter.
You don't know how much this means to me.
It's been so long, so very long, in fact, that I had forgotten what love even felt like. Instead, my love for Sophia was replaced by anger, and that anger completely blinded me. But now I can see the world clearly again, thanks to you, my granddaughter. Are you listening, Sophia? I'll have to put off returning to your side for a while. There's someone I need to get to know here first. Will you forgive me for making you wait just a little longer, my dear?
Wherever she is, I'm sure she's very happy for us.
Goodbye!
Man, that ending. I'd be lying if I said it didn't bring me to tears every single time I play this game. If you ask me, Pandora's Box's ending is better. It's both better and worse than Curious Village. Sure, the motive behind the ending is better in Curious Village. A father's love to protect his daughter at all costs while grasping his own mortal life, and Pandora's Box can be pretty much summed up as old man misses wife while inhaling nitrous gas for 50 years. But ultimately, Pandora's Box is a lot more tear-jerking of an ending. It leaves you with kind of a hopeful and beautiful story of two people who loved each other dearly, but were unfortunately separated due to conflict of interest, but kept loving each other regardless. Anton getting his happy ending with Katya is also lovely to see. I would say that overall, the gameplay and story-wise, my heart does go to Curious Village over Pandora's, but ending-wise and, I guess, impactfulness afterwards, I'm gonna have to give Pandora this. That's not to say Pandora isn't a phenomenal game. It does everything Curious Village did, just longer and larger, and that's not a bad thing at all, even if it does do the Don Paolo gag again, which is kinda getting tiresome now. Oh, also, I'm writing this through the credits, but please do watch them, because they do show some scenes after the game, like Anton and Beluga meeting again and the resolution of the hamster. Speaking of, I didn't really cover the minigames to their fullest, much like how I didn't in Village either, and that's mostly because they don't really add anything except the old diary, which actually does slowly tell the story of Anton and Sophia falling in love. But the camera and hamster don't really go anywhere. Basically, all they do is unlock harder puzzles in the bonus section, which is only important if you like the puzzle solving aspect of the game. If you're like me and just prefer the storytelling and environment, you're not going to get a whole lot out of them. Yeah, still, I can respect their inclusion to those who are interested. But yeah, that ends Professor Layton and Pandora's Box. I know it was kind of short, much shorter than Curious Village, well, it is still 30 minutes long, but it may seem like I'm going over it quickly, but honestly, that's pretty much all that happens. It is, in my opinion, a worthy successor to Village that keeps the charm of the series, and manages to expand on it without bastardizing the characters or universe, something that is seldom seen in today's sequels. Oh, by the way, Dr. Schrader is alive. There's no proper tease here for the next game like there was in Village, well, aside from this still at the end, but if you know Layton, you know what comes next. You know it's the one game in this series that I am dreading to play through and review.
And that was the tale of the Elysian box, a relic reputed to carry a curse so terrifying that it became known as Pandora's box. But when all was said and done, the nickname Pandora's box couldn't have been more inappropriate. The box was revealed for what it truly was.
A vessel created to carry the love of two kindred spirits through all of time. While terror brought the box its notoriety, in the end, its most powerful message was one of love.